What's up, guys? And today's video is a recording of my talk that I did from the Cancun Self-Publishers Mastermind event from a few weeks ago. So the whole thing was recorded. This was live on stage in front of, I don't know, 25, 30 people.
36 people.
36 people.
35 because you were on stage.
That's right, minus one. Now, that's obviously not a lot of people, but what I want people to understand is, I don't know, a lot of people there were expecting me or both of us not really to be that nervous, to be the most comfortable of anyone, when that is just so far from the truth, is because the people that you see in our YouTube videos is who people think that we are and have always been. But the truth is that this is a very recent change that we've made in our lives. Watch our first few videos or our first like 50 videos on YouTube. You could tell how uncomfortable we are there, because growing up we were completely introverted, shy, did not talk much, extremely self-conscious. And
What you're saying right now is actually what my talk in Cancun is about. So the next video, you will be able to see that, but that will be a week from now.
So all I'm saying is that yes, I was nervous. You can tell definitely in the beginning. Then I got a little bit more comfortable. But the entire talk is simply about a big change that I've made, that we both made, but one that's become a thing that's become really important to me, which is just work productivity. The actual changes to routine and to your habits and productivity, time management, things that you can apply literally today, immediately, and get results instantly. And I share a lot of those towards the end of the talk. A lot of it's building up to that, but I'd highly advise that you watch it until the end, because there's a lot of really good takeaways, and I'd love to hear what you thought about the whole thing. Any comments?
No.
Yeah, all right.
Enjoy the video.
So what I'm going to be talking about today is how to work less and do more. Now, who here would love to be able to work less hours and achieve more with their businesses? For some people, amazing, everyone. For some people, it should say work more and achieve even more. So, but this does apply to everyone, regardless if you need to work less or if you need to work more. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this, it's not just because I didn't want to talk about anything publishing related. While that is true, I didn't. But, and this is not just stuff that I'm kind of pulling out of my ass to try and sound like I know a lot. But in the past 6 months, since February to be exact, this has become one of the biggest goals in my life. Simply just about making the most of our time, and so that we have more time to do the other things that make us happy, instead of just work, and sacrificing everything else. Because for about 2 years, I was the epitome of that mindset of simply more work is better, end of story. It's an idea that's pretty popular online, on social media, hashtag team hustle, hashtag grind more, things like that. So some of us do need a little bit more of that, but for me, I took that to the extreme. And what I learned was the reason I was doing that was because I simply wasn't making the most of my time. And my world was opened up to this in February when I attended a mastermind in Bali, where I basically learned what real productivity looks like. And I realized I'd actually been wasting a lot of time before that. Now, funny enough, that's why I had originally titled this, was Why Working Hard is Stupid. I was super excited about it. You could ask Charlotte. I was like, I have the best name for this talk, but I scrapped that pretty quickly because I didn't want to give anyone the wrong idea that this was how I felt. But what I do want to say about this is that working hard is stupid if you measure hard work by how many hours you put into your business, into achieving your goals. Hard work should not be measured by how much time we put into it. Hard work should be measured by how much we're able to achieve in as little amount of time as possible. Because time is the most valuable thing we have. We want to do everything we can in as little amount of time so we can spend time doing other things. With my girlfriend, for example, for the longest time, I was convinced I was not having a girlfriend until I was at least 30 years old, because that was just a waste of time. I've learned that it is not, and it's actually pretty good for you. Now, more specifically, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I'm honest about it. Okay. Well, the message I really want to convey is why working hard is overrated if we define working hard by how many hours we work. Because that's what everyone talks about. Everyone wants to brag about 60, 70, 80, 90 hours. but what's actually going on in those hours, we don't talk about. So what's way more important is working productively, efficiently. So that's super underrated, and that's become a massive focus in my life for about the past 6, 7, 8 months. Now, to best explain how to be productive, I created this diagram known as the circle of getting shit done. And it's made up of 3 layers. The first layer is time. Now, to be able to get a lot of shit done, you got to put in your time, but that's the one everyone's focused on. So I don't really want to talk so much about how to get more time. Now, there are many ways to get more time. It's just giving up the things that you're doing that aren't work. That's how you get more time. If it's breaking up with your girlfriend, that sounds really bad because we don't want to give up time. That's really my point. That was very poorly explained. But it is important, but there's a lot more important aspects to this. And the next layer beneath time that I have learned is simply creating a routine. Now, a routine is simply just the way you structure your day for max productivity or getting the most shit done, in other words. And for a long time, I didn't have much of a routine. A lot of it was because we were traveling, changing destinations every few months or every few weeks. But now that I've really created, at least I'm trying to create a better routine, I'm able to work a lot less, finish my work days at about 4 or 5 as opposed to 10 in the evening, and be getting way more done than I was before. Now, creating a routine is simply just optimizing your day, which means optimizing is making the best or most effective use of a resource, that resource being time. Like, the bad thing about this topic is I can't just provide basically, here's the best routine everyone needs to follow. That's just not how it works. It works on a person-to-person basis, and you need to figure out the best routine for yourself. But what I can talk about is giving a few guidelines that go into creating the best routine for yourself. And I also want to stress that everything I talk about today is all based on personal experience. Only personal experience. If I haven't experienced it for myself, I'm not going to talk about it. So the first thing I have to say, super important, is simply just your routine needs to equal your goals. It's kind of a matter of working backwards. Figure out what you want out of your day, and you shape your day around these goals. If it's working, that's your primary focus. We have other goals as well, going to the gym, eating healthy. You need to keep those things in mind when you're creating a routine. Like, I mean, literally writing out what your routine is. Now, next thing that this is one of my favorite ones is simply just starting early. Starting early has changed absolutely everything to me. Why I believe starting early is so important is because those early first few hours in the morning, there simply are no other distractions in the world. No one wants to hang out with you at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. The number one thing that's stopping us from being productive is distractions. And in the morning, there aren't those distractions. My day literally feels like from 24 hours to like 30 hours simply just by waking up super early. So I enjoy waking up at 5, and that alone has been absolutely massive for me. Next is to minimize lag. Lag is a term that I created myself, but it makes sense. Lag is simply the time that it takes to go from one daily task to the other. For example, if you're going from your workplace to the gym, it takes 30 minutes, as opposed to you could go from your workplace to the gym, it could take 5 minutes. The lag between those two tasks are just not very productive, so you really want to go from one thing to the next and not waste your time with things that aren't a good use of your time. Now, there's one major thing that really, I'm going to get into later about the big enemy here. Next is to take 1 to 2 days off. Days off did not exist in my life before. I literally did not work, or I literally worked every day for over a year. And even when I took supposed off days, such as go on vacation to some island in Indonesia, instead of making me relaxed and like getting away from work, it had the exact opposite effect, and it just made things worse and worse and worse for me because I was in the mindset that taking days off is a waste of time and is literally just holding me back. But now I've learned the exact opposite, that days off are literally the days that energize you, allow you to do all the other things that make you happy. For example, for me, things like playing Pokemon. If anyone has seen my phone, complete Pokemon theme. Things like sports, video games. I had completely given those things up for 2 years because they didn't align with my goals. But so the most important thing of your days off is simply there are no rules whatsoever. Even if what you want from your day off is simply breaking every productivity rule there is. That's up to you. So you really just want to use that time to recover and energize yourself. And then the final one is to be strict. Now this is the one that no one wants to hear because being strict isn't always easy. But this shit doesn't work if you're not strict about it. It's literally just suggestions about I should be doing this at that time or I should be doing that at this time. If you're not strict, it's not a routine. Now, there is a layer deeper than this that is a lot more important than routine. And this is the one that has really made the biggest difference for me. We've all heard of it. It's no secret. It is habits. Now, habits, to quickly define it, are simply all of the things that you do, say, without thinking about it. So it's simply just all the things you do, say, involuntarily. You're not thinking. You're just doing your thing. In other words, your habits are literally just who you are. When you're being yourself, you're not thinking about it. You're just existing and doing your thing. So your habits literally make up who you are. And everyone wants the secrets to success. Like you need to follow this, you need to follow that. What you really need to do is change who you are, and the easiest way to do that is change your habits. That's the easiest way to explain it, at least. I'm not the master of habits, but I do want to share a few habits that I've done for myself that have just made an unbelievable difference. Again, the reason why I talk about this is because this stuff has made such a gigantic difference in my life. But before we begin talking about all the good habits we can begin incorporating, we need to get rid of the bad. And there is one massive bad habit that basically creates all other bad habits. It's, to me, the elephant in the room. I'm curious if anyone knows what I'm talking about. The one thing that creates all bad habits. That's not a great habit, but not the one I'm talking about. No one's gotten it yet. Maybe it isn't as obvious as I thought it was. Yeah, it's your phone. Your phone is just the center of 99%, at least for me, 99% of all the distractions that I ever had. And the first step in overcoming this is becoming aware of how harmful your phone actually is for your productivity. Doesn't mean you can't use your phone, but when you're trying to work and get shit done, your phone is not helping you. Some people think that they're working from their phone, but in reality, you probably don't realize you're not working most of the time. To me, the absolute biggest, most important habit that I have built myself, and again, I'm not perfect at this whatsoever. Charlotte knows. I'm working on it. I do it most days, but that big habit for me is putting your phone on airplane mode or no phone at all until noon, and this habit is bolded because of its importance. And a lot of this talk leads up to the power of something as simple as that. Having no phone at all, when you're working, it'll blow your mind seeing how you've actually been wasting your time previously. Now, I'd love to talk more about it, but I do have a time restriction. The next thing, which is also related to your phone, is to use social media eradicators on your computers, on your phones. Now, a social media eradicator is simply this software plugin that you can plug into your Facebook and to YouTube, where it just eradicates your entire news feed. So this is what my Facebook news feed looks like. Simply just install it. I've been using this since February, since the first day I heard about it. I would highly advise every single person use. Yeah, you could download, a Chrome extension of sorts. Now, it doesn't exist in the mobile version, sadly, so I still will go through my news feed on my phone without realizing, even though I'm highly aware of it. Truly, the only way to get rid of this stuff is to completely eliminate it. And within 24 hours of installing this, you'll completely forget that a news feed existed. Nothing good comes out of your news feed. Now, Best case scenario is deleting social media as a whole, but I can't do that because a lot of our business relies on social media. We have a Facebook group that I'm in many times every day. So I'd love to delete it all, but this is the next best thing. Now also, for example, our Instagram. Oh, shit. No. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry about that. Can we, oh, it needs to go backwards. Can we admire that for a second, though? Rasmus sent me that a few days ago. But this is what our Instagram feed looks like. I wish we could get rid of the news feed as a whole, but what you can do is mute everyone that you follow so that you don't get anyone's post in your news feed. It's simply just your own pictures. Now, hopefully you aren't scrolling through that looking at your own pictures all day. But seriously, when you install it, you completely forget that news feeds exist because they are completely, I believe, no, it's objectively worthless to everything that you're doing. And the next thing, this is one that I love, is simply to send voice messages and use Loom to communicate with people. Does everyone know what Loom is? No? No? Okay. Okay, Loom, it's this, it's like a video messaging software where it's sending a voice message with video as well. And this in itself will save you 30 minutes a day. If you want to talk about adding time to our day, we want to implement things like using Loom and sending voice messages, because writing out our messages, something that should take 30 seconds to send a voice message, will take 5 minutes typing out. And voice messages and using Looms are also a lot more effective in communication. So you avoid any back and forth. You get to the point. It saves you a lot of time communication. If anyone who has messaged with me, you probably know I like to send voice messages, and Loom specifically as well. Next thing, now this is not so much like a productivity hack per se, but it's just so important that we have to talk about it. And it's just knowing your IPAs and your IDAs. For people that don't know what that stands for, IPAs is income producing activities. IDAs is income destroying activities. This in itself we could talk about for an hour. Someone can implement all these things and still be using their time on their IDAs and make absolutely no money or any progress in their businesses, versus the other person also doing the same thing, yet they're working on things that actually make them money. So with publishing, IPAs is essentially anything involved in the publishing process, anything that you're doing to create more books and put them out into the market, because that's what makes money. All these other things like checking your keyword rankings, looking at your reviews, looking at your sales 20 times a day. I used to do that as well. It was literally like every 10 minutes. I was looking at my sales. I'm sure some people can relate to that. Check once in the morning and you're fine. That's all you need to do. Otherwise, it becomes a waste of time. And then the final one I want to talk about is consuming podcasts, YouTube MP3s, audiobooks, and Blinkist in your downtime. Now, OKC, I added that this morning. That stands for, I hope I don't butcher this, optimal knowledge consumption. That was Charlotte's best explanation for it, which is a good explanation for it. It's just the way I like to work, I was telling Marco about this yesterday, is when I'm working and progressing. When I'm not working, I like to be learning and then get into work, apply the things I learn. So it's a cycle like that, working and learning, working and learning. And this is the way that's been absolutely massive for me. Like every time I'm driving, I'm listening to audiobooks. Not so much audiobooks. I prefer podcasts, YouTube MP3s. I'd love to talk later about some of the best YouTube channels where you could learn some super high-level stuff. People think YouTube is for entertainment. There's extremely high-level information about growing a business on YouTube. And then, does everyone know what Blinkist is? Yeah. So for people that don't know, it's this app. I guess it's an app that has like thousands of books, and they just create 20 to 30-minute summaries of every single book. And the way I like to use it is, like, we all get tons of book recommendations, but reading them all is a lot of time. And a lot of times you start a book and then you don't finish it because you realize 1 to 2 hours in that it really just wasn't for me. It didn't fit what I was looking for. So instead, just listen to the Blinkist, 20 minutes, and then you know if that's a book that you should further pursue. So I want to get to the point where at the gym, I'm not listening to music. Music also, not saying it's a waste of time, but it's not productive. I want to be listening to podcasts at the gym. For me, I just like the way music makes me feel at the gym, so I'm not quite there yet. But yes, and these are 80%-ish, 80-20 rule. Most of the things that my biggest takeaways for these past 6 months were becoming productive and making good use of my time has become a massive focus. These are some of the biggest things. And simply, if there was one message I could spread, it was simply I would encourage you to make work productivity your number one goal, and then everything else will fall into place. Granted that you keep everything else the same. Don't worry about working more hours. Some people can't work more hours. Just make the most of the hours that you have, and you can achieve all the things that you want to. And that is that. Thank you. Oh, yes. Yes, yes. Oh, I love Q&A. I love Q&A. Yes, this is fun.
Okay, so that was really, really good.
Thank you.
I didn't know about Blinkist, and I'm not a
I've
huge
told Marco
reader.
about it.
Like, I read,
Have I
but
told you about it? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
You just don't tell
So
us.
I'm going to check that out. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
So my question to you is, us being online entrepreneurs working online, how do you personally manage work-life balance? Because I know that, like, for me, I love working, and
Right.
sometimes Marco's like, you know, I'm on my computer at night, and he's like, put that thing away.
Right.
Like, we just came upstairs, you know,
Right,
put it away. So
Yeah.
how do you do it?
So that exact thing is what sparked me to get really into this, because there was no work-life balance. The big thing, there was blurred lines everywhere between work life and personal life, and it was all just mashed together, and there was no such thing as relaxing. Like when I went on vacations, it just made it even worse. And the big one out of all these that really creates strict lines is the routine. This is when I'm done working today. And I've also experienced that if I'm done working at 4, but I have so much shit to get done, I'm racing to get it all done before 4. But then after that, close your laptop, pick it up tomorrow. It's not going anywhere. So the routine. Like, I'm obsessed with routine now. That's all I want in my life right now. That's why I don't want to travel anymore. I just want to slow down and get a routine. But yeah. Yes, hope that answers it.
Good. I don't have not a question, just a comment that I want to say about Christian. Something that people don't know is that Christian is the most hardworking, obsessed, productive person I've ever met. Like, we don't work in the same office because it's distracting.
I don't allow it.
Yeah. And then at the end of the morning, we'll check in with each other. So while we were creating the course, I maybe would have done one PowerPoint slide, and then we check in, and he's made 3 PowerPoint slides, and he edited a YouTube video, and he answered all YouTube comments that time. I'm like, how the hell did you do that? It's
I'm
insane.
obsessed.
So, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yep. Thank you.
Wicked talk. Like, thank you so much. I just want to make one comment, and I think a lot of us are workaholics. I went through savage adrenal
That's
fatigue.
why this is so important.
Yeah, like I worked myself like to the point where I was sick and I could not work.
Literally, yeah.
You saying taking the 1 to 2 days off is probably one of the most valuable things you can say, because that recharge time for yourself that is non-stimulating is the way that you consistently win. Short bursts of 2-3 weeks or 3 months, whatever, like if you want to be here long term, 5 years, 10 years, those rest days are the ones that actually matter the most. So thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it.
I could sit and say every one of these things is absolutely massive, but that is one of the biggest ones that I've realized. Just taking real days off.
Really quick, last one.
I want to ask you about stimulants.
About
Do-
what?
What do you use? Do you think that drinking coffee has helped you a lot? Drinking a lot of coffee, I don't know, maybe your diet is stimulant, stuff like that. Like, what's your hack that you use that you feel a difference? It's like, hey, I feel better now, more focused, or whatever.
I would love to be able to never consume coffee, just because like I want to be perfect, and I know it's not that it's a bad habit, but it's not the most perfect habit. But I definitely don't let myself consume coffee for more than a few weeks at a time. Then after that, I need a break from that as well, because you've probably noticed when you get into the habit of consuming it every single day, for weeks, it stops not doing anything. So just take a break from it, like a week off, then once you get back on it, it's even better. But I would love to never consume coffee, but that's not one of those things that's going to kill you. Coffee makes me happy, so I don't want to get rid of that.
We're at time.
Oh, no, I want literally.
At a time. Let's give Kristen a round of applause.